Well, I think that when you're trying to do everything for everybody,
Right.
you kind of lose focus on the design language
Yeah.
because they have to have the karaoke thing, they have to have the STEM thing, they have to have all this other stuff. So, like for instance, like Tractor, if you aren't using stems doesn't exist on Tractor for you.
No.
You have to actively put it on there, otherwise that thing doesn't exist. You
Yeah.
wouldn't even know the stems is on there,
Mhm.
and it has the ability to just dumb it down and get exactly what you need. And
Yeah.
like for instance, like I don't need the mixer on my screen. I have a mixer.
Yeah.
I if I want it there to kind of figure out something, or if I'm using controller, then great. But if I'm using turntables, I don't need a mixer on the screen. It's taking up space, and I would
But
prefer to
can't you
have a
change that
larger.
though? I thought you can
No,
change
you
that.
can't get rid of the mixer completely
Oh,
unless you
really?
change the skin. Yeah. Oh no, I dug in deep. Right, I
The
looked everywhere. I was
skins. It's
trying to
all
get
about
rid
the
of it.
skins.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
trying to get rid of that mixer because I was like, I would like this bar to be longer
Mm.
across and at least have just the waveform on the lower end and then the waveform at the top. And you can't do it. I don't know
Did
how
you
to get rid of it.
did you notice any latency using the time-coded vinyl?
No, latency was pretty good,
Mhm.
actually. And I don't know if that was my settings from the sound card or my settings from Tractor, how I have it set up on board, because Tractor has the external drivers. Because I'm using it on PC, and so I have that set up in advance. So when I plug anything in, it'll be what those settings were. So the AISO drivers, that's what the settings would be. So how I my settings for how I use Tractor is how it was for Virtual DJ. It was exact same.
Wow.
And I went back and forth for a little bit, and I was trying to make sure. I was like, "Yo, this is tight." I don't
So you
I
didn't
don't
have to
have any delay.
calibrate it or anything like that?
No, it just ran
Wow.
in, worked great.
Okay.
And the same
Uh,
with the S9, it was fine.
it just worked. Okay. Wow. That is
Yeah.
pretty amazing. How, okay. Again, we both say that virtual DJ is the most advanced DJ software on the planet Earth.
On Earth.
Period.
Yes,
Just
period.
so you know, I mean, like you would say, don't flame me. This is the most advanced DJ software on the planet Earth. It really is. I
Yeah.
think that they need to pare it down a little bit because
Mhm.
you know I'm paraphrasing here, but I think that at some point they're going to get Facebooked, and what I mean by that is other companies are going to
Yes.
start saying, "Oh, you have a feature, I'm just going to take that and use it." None of these features are proprietary, but you also have
Yeah.
to think, why aren't these other companies using some of these features, like 227 file formats? Like, why? Because it doesn't matter, you
Yeah, they
know.
know that the majority of DJs are gonna use 2 to 4 channels
That's
at
it.
most. So it's like it's an unnecessary
99
feature.
decks.
It's a feature that's just gonna go and use for the majority, I like the
It's a
point
fun
zero zero
feature,
zero one percent.
that's what
Yeah.
it is.
It's one of those
It,
things that you can throw on the website to say, "Oh, we do this too." But, like, I when people go to Serato and they're looking at the new feature set or whatever,
mhm.
the basics are there, and they're like, "Okay, well, we were doing a new, uh, like a flip thing." And I'm like, "Okay, I know what that is, but it doesn't take away from this other stuff. So, well, I don't care about the flip. I will never see it. It won't take up any space. It doesn't change my worldview of how the software runs."
Mhm.
And in Record Box is the same way. They added all the other things that they added, like the thing that cut up the samples.
Yeah.
If you don't know about it, it's not going to take up any space.
Mhm.
It's just not there. So they can just focus on your library and you mixing the actual two songs together or four, or whatever you're doing. And
Wow.
I think the focus on the layout and all the DJ software is more. It is the biggest draw for when you look at the DJ software. Like if you're looking at Serato, the two songs that are mixing together is the most important thing on the screen
Yeah.
at any given time.
Mhm.
And same thing with Record Box, same thing with Tractor, same thing. Like that's the focus. The focus is not the other million features that you're not going to use. And I don't know if it's because I'm a boring DJ or well, because I'm mobile, majority of my mixing is two songs together, or maybe
Yeah.
three if I feel like having fun because I'm bored. I'll
Mhm.
throw a drum beat underneath there and do my own live remix, but
Right.
that's that's not the focus of the two songs together is my focus. And like if I'm doing, like, I do weddings, I do corporate stuff, so like for weddings, it's making sure I have the songs in the order that I have to play for the bride, and that's it. I don't care about anything else. Everything else is irrelevant to me.
Even though you have all of these like mad crazy, dope, coolest features in the world, the program, and yeah, I'll give it to the programmers and the developers, and the coders, it's still lightweight.
It runs really smooth.
It
I
runs
was
really
not worried about
smooth.
it. Yeah, it runs really smooth. But I look at it like this: like,
Hmm.
if you weren't a DJ with years of experience,
Hmm.
and you looked at the software, and you looked at Serato, you looked at Rekordbox, whatever, the things that they have as the selling point is how to DJ on their software, not the karaoke machine, and not the light
Hmm.
effects and that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Hmm.
The selling point is the DJ part of it. And that's why and this is my personal opinion about this. So if you want to flame me, flame me. But I look at it as like, I don't think for new DJs that are coming onto it, they're not looking at that. Oh, I need these features, the 99 decks. I don't need that.
Yeah.
Like the all this other stuff. I don't think they're looking at it like that way. I think that they probably should focus on the actual DJ aspect of it,
Mhm.
and as a bonus later on down the page, like, oh, we can do this other things too. But it's the selling point is that we can do the other things, not the DJing part.
Right.
Is I think they look at it as the DJs obviously know that this is the selling point, that you can obviously play two songs together, so why bother? But no, I think from a visual standpoint, like just like an advertising agency,
Mhm.
you would have to sell it that this looks as good as Serato, this does what Serato can do,
Mhm.
or Record Box or
Or record
whatever,
box, or even tractor.
or even Tractor. Like
Yeah.
it does that, and this is our visual language, and the other stuff is kind of secondary to most DJs.
Yeah.
I don't know any DJs that are excited about the karaoke machine. I'm sure that people use it.
Hmm.
I know there's mobile DJs that actually I will say that I know there's
Yeah.
mobile DJs that use it, but
Be-
I don't know anybody who's
mhm.
excited about it. That was like, oh my god, DJ Keo, you gotta have to see this thing. It plays karaoke. Nobody's done that before, and I've seen a bunch of people use it.
So, all right. So, we are here talking about virtual DJ, our thoughts about it. How are you going to, Keo, sum this up? Like, your
Hmm.
opinion on virtual DJ. How can virtual DJ, because it is the most advanced DJ software on the planet Earth, I will say that again.
Yeah,
How
I know.
can they, right? How is it that they can start to really compete with the top two DJ softwares, Rekordbox and Serato? How can they do that?
I think two things they need to do. They need their own gear.
Oh
And I
yeah,
know people are gonna be like, what? No, but virtual DJ has maybe one controller. I think it's like a reloop controller that's designed for virtual DJ.
really?
Everything else, they stack virtual DJ on it, but it's not designed. It's for it is for Serato or Rekordbox, and virtual DJ is like an afterthought. But
Wow.
I think there's literally only one reloop controller that is designed specifically for virtual DJ,
Hmm.
and maybe like some tiny, little tiny controllers. But I
Hmm.
mean, like a pro controller that's made for virtual DJ with a touchscreen, that kind of thing. They need they need controllers or at least gear
Hmm.
that's dedicated to that, and you can't use it with the walled garden. Makes sense because it works.
Yeah.
It works for a record box. Record box would not be a thing without the walled garden. They
Hmm.
would, if they once they stop saying, well, this supports Serato too, a lot of people were like, I guess I gotta use record box now. That's the thing that carried them over and took
Right.
it to the next level for
The
them.
two companies benefit each other too, though.
Yeah. Oh, for
Rekordbox and
sure.
Serato. Mhm.
Yeah, but
They,
like
yeah,
they started make record box started making gear like the DDJ 1000 that was just for record box,
yeah.
and it had to beg people to make one for Serato because that's how
Mhm.
popular it was. But
Right.
that kind of thing, it matters a lot. And I think the other thing that to take virtual DJ to the next level, they have to change the name and polish this screen. They cannot get around this. Virtual
Yeah.
DJ is think about this, like in the 80s when Toyota came out with Lexus.
Mhm.
They were like, this is a whole other thing.
But it really
And
wasn't.
they're like, yeah, but it wasn't.
Mhm.
And like Honda came out with Acura, but like it was like this is the other company. Don't worry about how we're doing this stuff. You know, we had the same knobs and buttons inside our car and same
Right.
design, whatever. But this is another company, and it's a little bit more pro. And eventually, people are like, you know what? That's a Lexus, and not
Mhm.
that's a Toyota. And
Yeah.
it took a long time for people to
Yep.
move past that.
That's true.
But it was the branding and the design language
Mhm.
that kind of made people like, oh, this is a whole different thing. We have to treat it different. And DJs, it's a little bit of sheep for sure, absolutely. But DJs, we kind of look at this stuff, and we need. I don't know if we need to be nudged a little bit, but we need our original thought. And the virtual DJ brand has been tainted for pro DJs. And let's be real here.
Right.
There's a ton of pro DJs that are on videos for virtual DJs saying, "Oh my God, this DJ so software is amazing. It's the best feeling I've ever had." And then they go right back to Serato when they do
Right.
their live gigs.
Mhm.
And like, why is that? It's the best feeling you ever had, but why did they automatically just go back to that?
Yeah.
And because the brand is tainted.
Mhm.
And so, and I know people, virtual DJ, they are a passionate group of people and they love their thing. And I like it for them, but you have to be realistic. Denon rebranded their thing with Engine Prime, and like this is a whole other thing.
Mhm.
Come look at what we're doing over here, and they keep bringing out the SE6000, whatever. Denon used to be, a mixer and controller company that was over here. Now they are the high end mixer and controller company, and people look at them completely different because they did a rebranding.
Mhm.
They tried to focus to a different niche market, and I think that matters a lot. The branding alone. Now, the other thing I would say, and I don't want to ramble too long, but the other thing I would say is that they need to dumb down the software. It is
Please.
doing too much.
And when you and not make it like dumb it down so that it is slightly better, more
Mm-hmm.
advanced than Rekordbox and Serato. I mean, don't just dumb it down where it's just like, oh well, this we can't use
Yeah,
this, right?
yeah.
I know
Don't
exactly
dumb it
what you
down, but
mean.
like I'm saying is that remove all of the clutter from the front page.
Yeah.
I think is the
Mhm.
best way to say it. You
Mhm.
don't have to get rid of all this stuff. You can keep all these features wherever people want it, they can
Mhm.
take it. But I would offer two tiers.
Mhm.
There's a tier version for pro DJs who
Mhm.
only want to use these certain features. And then there's a fun version for everybody else.
It's the fun version. The fun version would
Yeah.
probably now is the fun version like does that include the karaoke,
Yes.
the
You throw
video?
all
Okay,
that, the
so
kitchen sink is in the fun version.
okay,
And
the
then
fun
you
version
have
is more expensive.
yes.
Okay.
But you have the pro
Mhm.
DJ version as lean as possible. Try and make the refresh for your waves and make them as sharp and visually appealing as possible.
Mhm.
Because I don't like the wave for how it looks. It is not when you go from Rekordbox, you use Rekordbox waveforms on your screen, and then you go to this version of waveform. It is night and day.
Yeah.
It is it is
I don't even like
jarring
the
how
color.
different.
I don't even like the color scheme
Yeah,
of the
the
waveforms,
color scheme,
Yeah.
the visual language for where the hi hats or the drums are in the
Mhm.
sounds. It is not good. It is abysmal at best.
Yeah.
I'm from the bottom of my heart, and I want to help you guys. That is abysmal. It is terrible. Like the lineup for where the beat port is for the drum kick, I would
Mhm.
say. Where it has the little tick where it
Yeah.
lines up and says this is
Mhm.
on beat. It's just slightly behind,
Yep.
even though it's on. I'm like, no,
Mhm.
these should be on.
Yeah.
And even Engine Prime was like, okay, we're going to use a different design language, but we're going to make this obvious where your drum is and where the drum starts. And you want people who've never used the software before to look at this and know instantly, okay, this is what I need, and all this other stuff, I can deal with it. What's going on the screen? But this part right here, the drum or the snare, this is the most important thing on the screen, and the waveforms, how they designed it is just, it is awful.
Yeah.
And I went through, I went through all 4 DJ software because I have all of them now. I have all of them, and I was like, well, Rekordbox has the best. I think Serato and Tractor is probably a tie.
Yeah.
Engine Prime, I get, and then Virtual DJ's down here, and like, you know, the 720p version of that thing needs to be crisp. I have an HD screen.
480p.
480p. That's what it looked like on the screen. I'm like, no.
Right.
The waveforms is the most, like I were talking before. The waveforms is the most important thing on that screen.
Visual, you need that visual, right?
And as the colors should be popping, just right, because like, you know, Rekordbox has a blue kind of color thing, and so does Tractor, and even that white is crisp, where you can see where the snare is and where the kick is really sharp, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how much time they spent on that. I think that was probably an afterthought. It needs to be sharper because these are the most. I can point down the most important things on the screen: BPM, your tempo, your waveform, and then your library. Everything else is secondary. Your hot cues, but like everything else is secondary or mostly irrelevant, and they're kind of cool if it's there, but honestly, it doesn't need to be there. And you could see in all of the other DJ software, those things take precedent over everything else. Waveforms and Serato and all this stuff, you can see it's top of the screen. It looks crisp, and it takes precedent over everything else on the screen. All the other colors and all the other stuff's irrelevant. That matters the most to me. And so, if there was a way to make those things more in focus and get rid of all the other clutter, that would be great. I would do a name refresh, honestly. I know people are gonna get mad about this because I saw the thumb down in the other video, but that's okay. No, I relish that. I say bring it because you need critical feedback from your thing. Everything can't be awesome and everything can't be good. As long as it's not malicious. And I don't think we look at this because we both respect what Virtual DJ is doing. And
definitely,
after I used it for the whole weekend, every day I hopped on it. I did cuts. I did, juggling, beat juggling. I did everything. And I was like, this works great. Ugly as sin. But it worked great.
Flat as anything. It's too flat. Let me give you my opinion of this, and we could just zip this up. All right. So when Engine came out, it was updates. They needed updates, and like we were talking about before, it's 2, 3, maybe 4 updates away from being like an awesome product, right? The thing with Virtual DJ, again, the most advanced DJ software on the planet Earth, right? On the planet Earth, like, just all seriousness, this is the most powerful, most advanced DJ software out there. But I think that is too much. You can probably get rid of, on a real, probably 50 to 75% of those features.
I'll go 80%.
Maybe even 80%.
I'll go 80.
And you also need to design this software. You don't have any designers designing this software. It's almost like clip art. With the design, right? It's just like, I'm going to use this turntable, or I'm going to use this thing that looks like vinyl. And it doesn't work like that, right? So like, dumb it down, but to the point where it's still the best software, the most advanced software out there. But a lot of these features you just don't need, right? There's absolutely no DJ who's using 99 decks. Now,
No.
and over 200 file formats. Like, why? I mean, maybe there are different file formats in Europe or whatever. I don't know. But it's still
Hmm.
not, 150 file formats that DJs are using on, in their rotation. It just doesn't work like that. So you need to
Yeah.
get rid of those features. The second thing is it needs to look good. You have to design, you need designers to design the actual look and feel.
Hmm.
They need a better UI UX developers.
Hmm.
Basically people who can come in there and just design the whole thing, say, okay, we're going to make this look really cool.
Yeah.
um, and you said something about they need their own controllers. So Serato sort of partnered with Pioneer to build their controllers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we know that in Music Brand with Denon and also Newmark and all of that stuff, they're pretty set as a company. Although I do
Yeah.
think that, in Music Brand, acquiring Virtual DJ would be the biggest move in the DJ industry.
It'd
Um,
be the best move, to be
it'd
honest
be the
with
best move. Now, they probably cannot, develop their own controllers, their own hardware, just like probably
you. Mhm.
Serato cannot. So
Yeah.
maybe they should sort of partner with a company like a Reloop or a
Hmm.
Newmark. That's where and Music Brand would come and acquire them. So
Hmm.
there are a lot of moving parts that needs to happen before they can even start really to compete with companies like
Hmm.
Rekordbox and Serato, because eventually Tractor will step back up and they will become the number 3 software.
Yeah.
Um, and Virtual DJ's been out there for a really long time. This company started back in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
So
It's been out for a long
it's
time.
been it's been out for, I mean, they've had a leg up on all of this stuff
Yeah.
before
Which is
anyone
why
else.
I think it's the most polished, but they haven't made inroads with pro DJs, and they
Yeah.
can't figure that out. They
Yeah.
can't crack that nut. I don't know.
They definitely need, I think they really should invest in UI UX, because that is the thing that's holding them back. Invest in
Yeah.
UI UX developers and ditch 50 to 80% of all of those features. And your options menu, that has to be
Hmm.
less cluttered. It's just cluttered. Everything looks clunky. It's just
Yeah.
you have blocks, right? Nothing, no round corners. There are people who study stuff like this. Hey,
Yeah.
these sort of corners, feng shui and all that sort of stuff. I mean, people study this sort of stuff. That's why you need UI UX developers. They understand this stuff. They understand how someone will react based on
Hmm.
how a software looks, how a software functions. They don't have that right now. They just have coders and programmers and
Hmm.
a really awesome, obviously, R&D department, because they're killing it with all
Yes.
these features, right?
All
Um,
of the buckets of money they get in goes to R and
yeah,
D, and kudos to them for that.
but yeah, I think that's what they really need to do. Virtual DJ, the most advanced DJ. I'm gonna keep saying that, so I won't get flamed out. The most advanced DJ software on the planet Earth, Virtual DJ, and it really is.
It
But it's
is.
also a complicated software, and I'm not talking about I'm not talking about complicated in terms of you can't understand it, you can't learn it. It's just too much. You don't need all that as a DJ software. So they have to pare all that stuff down, and they need UI and UX developers. I mean, to get that really
Yeah.
looking right. Well, okay. Well, there you have it. Virtual DJ, the most advanced DJ software on the planet Earth,
Or none on Earth. Yeah.
on Earth, but there are some things you have to do to make this even better and
Hmm.
more widely used throughout the world.